All right, hey everyone, welcome back. You know me, always ready to dive into something new, and today it's all about blood sugar.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right, it's something that affects, well, all of us really, right?
Definitely. Whether you're thinking about diabetes or just, trying to keep your energy levels up, it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Feeling good throughout the day, who doesn't want that? So for this deep dive, we're going to be looking at this article from Abbott. They're the folks behind Glucerna,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So they know their stuff when it comes to nutrition, and they've put together this really cool piece called Diabetes Nutrition, 10 Foods to Help Manage Blood Sugar.
I love that they're focusing on food.
Me too. It feels very approachable, like we can all make changes to what we eat.
Exactly. It's empowering.
So let's get into it. The article kicks off talking about the glycemic index, or GI. Now, for anyone who's like, wait, what's that? Can you give us a quick breakdown?
You got it. Think of the GI as like a speedometer for your blood sugar.
Okay, I like that.
It tells you how fast a food makes your blood sugar shoot up. So low GI foods, they're like the scenic route, nice and slow.
I get it.
But high GI foods, it's like flooring it, zoom. And that can lead to those energy crashes we all hate. And over time, it can even set the stage for some, more serious health issues.
So we want to stay off that blood sugar roller coaster, basically.
Exactly. Steady wins the race, especially when it comes to blood sugar. And the article really emphasizes choosing those low GI foods. It's super important.
And speaking of things that are good for keeping things steady, the article talks a lot about fiber, like it's a blood sugar superhero or something.
It kind of is. You'll notice a lot of the foods they recommend are high in fiber, and for good reason. Fiber, it's like it slows down how fast that sugar gets into your blood.
So it's like a buffer.
Exactly. No crazy spikes, just a nice gentle rise, which keeps you feeling fuller for longer.
It's like nature's way of keeping things balanced.
I like that, yeah. It's all about balance.
Okay, so let's talk about some specific foods. The article starts with unsweetened yogurt, specifically Greek yogurt. This one surprised me, I have to say. What makes yogurt so good for managing blood sugar?
Right. It's not the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, I always thought of it as like protein and calcium, which is good, but...
So much more than that. So yogurt has those good bacteria, right? Which everyone's talking about these days for gut health.
Yeah, the microbiome.
Exactly. But what's really cool is there's more and more research showing that a healthy gut can actually improve something called insulin sensitivity.
Hold on, so the bacteria in our gut can affect how our body deals with sugar.
Yep. It's fascinating, right? Insulin is basically like a key that unlocks your cells to let sugar in for energy. But sometimes those locks get a bit rusty. That's what we call insulin resistance. And a healthy gut seems to help keep those locks working smoothly.
Wow. So yogurt, it's not just a snack, it's helping our body use insulin better.
That's the idea. Plus, don't forget the protein, which keeps you full and satisfied. And some studies have even linked yogurt, especially Greek yogurt, to lower fasting blood sugar and better A1C results.
Speaking of A1C, can you remind us what that measures? It's like a blood sugar score, right?
You got it. A1C gives you like a big picture view of your blood sugar control over the past 2 to 3 months. So a lower A1C means things have been pretty stable.
Got it. So yogurt, it's good for the gut. It's got protein. It helps with A1C and maybe even with insulin too. That's pretty impressive. Plus, the article talks about topping it with berries and nuts.
Right, which makes it even better. More fiber, healthy fats, antioxidants.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Love it. Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. They also recommend berries, beans, and leafy greens.
Yep, all superstars in the blood sugar world.
And they're all low GI, right? So they digest slowly and don't spike blood sugar.
You got it. Plus, they're packed with fiber and tons of other good stuff. And they're so versatile. Berries for snacking, beans and hearty meals, leafy greens, and, well, practically anything.
The article even mentioned a study where men with type 2 diabetes ate blueberries every day, just a cup, and saw improvements in their A1C and triglycerides.
Yeah, that one was interesting. Triglycerides are a type of fat found in your blood.
Okay, and are those bad?
Too many can be, yeah. High triglycerides can up your risk of heart disease, so keeping them in check is important.
So simple food swaps, they can really make a difference. I like that the article gives us ideas like swapping beans for meat in tacos, adding spinach to smoothies.
Easy ways to make those healthy choices, right?
Exactly. Okay, so now let's talk about cravings. The article mentions dates, which surprised me because aren't those high in sugar?
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, right?
But they say dates are a good option for those sweet cravings.
The thing is, dates, even though they're dried fruit, They actually have a lower GI than a lot of other dried fruits. So they won't send your blood sugar skyrocketing.
Okay, but moderation is still key, I'm guessing.
Always. And the article suggests pairing them with protein or healthy fats to slow down that sugar absorption even more, like dates stuffed with peanut butter and cinnamon.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
Delicious and blood sugar friendly.
Yeah.
It's all about making smart combinations.
Right. So we've talked a lot about whole foods, but the article does briefly mention glucerna shakes and bars.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
They are from Abbott, after all. But, those can be really helpful for some people, especially on busy days.
Totally agree. Sometimes convenience is what helps us stay on track.
Right. Okay, back to those whole food all-stars. They group oats, mushrooms, and onions together.
That's a strange combo, isn't it?
It seems that way. But they each have their own superpowers when it comes to blood sugar.
Fill us in.
So oats, especially steel-cut oats, they're packed with a type of fiber called beta-glucan.
Oh yeah, that's supposed to be really good for blood sugar.
It is. It's like the ultimate fiber for slowing down sugar absorption. And they even suggest making homemade granola bars with oats, seeds, and nuts.
Sounds good to me. What about mushrooms? I feel like they don't get enough love.
They're amazing. They actually have a different kind of fiber called beta-D-glucans, which is also good for blood sugar.
Yeah.
And there are so many different kinds of mushrooms, so many ways to use them.
Like that portobello mushroom as a burger substitute.
That's the one. I got to try that.
And then onions. Just your everyday onion. What makes them special?
Well, they're low in carbs, for one thing. And they have this antioxidant called quercetin, which is anti-inflammatory.
Okay, so good for you in a bunch of ways.
Right. Plus, they add so much flavor to things. And speaking of things that might be new to people, the article finishes off with millet.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with millet. What's the deal with that?
Millet is a grain that I think is often overlooked. It's gluten-free, high in fiber, and has a lower GI than things like rice or wheat.
So another good swap.
Exactly. You can use it in all sorts of ways. The article suggests using it as a base for veggie bowls. Sounds delicious to me.
I love all these practical tips. It's really making me think about the choices I make every day. But before we go too much further, I think it's important to point out that everyone is different.
Oh, absolutely. That's where personalized nutrition comes in.
Exactly, because what works for one person might not work for another. It's not one size fits all.
And that's something we're going to explore more in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
Why a personalized approach is so important and how to find the right guidance for you.
Perfect. Can't wait to get into that. So for now, we'll leave it there, but stay tuned because we're just getting started. All right, welcome back. We were just talking about how personalized nutrition is so important.
It's huge, right?
Totally, because we can talk about all these great foods for blood sugar,
Which we have been.
but it's not like everyone's body is going to react the same way to a cup of blueberries.
Exactly. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Right. We all have different, metabolisms and activity levels and
Gut bacteria even.
that's right. So it makes sense that those general nutrition recommendations,
They're not always going to work for everyone.
Not always. And that's why I think the article really emphasizes getting personalized guidance, especially if you're managing something like diabetes.
Oh yeah, for sure. It can make all the difference.
So they talk about working with a healthcare professional or a registered dietitian.
They're the experts.
What kind of things can they help with that, we might not get from just reading an article?
Well, it's all about tailoring the advice to you.
Yeah.
Like a registered dietitian, they can look at your medical history, your current diet, what you're already eating.
Okay, so they get the full picture.
Exactly. And they factor in your lifestyle too, your preferences, even cultural stuff.
Yeah.
So you end up with a plan that actually works for you.
It's not just eat this, don't eat that.
No, it's way more than that. It's about portion control, meal timing, creating those balanced meals to keep your blood sugar steady. And they can help you with those tricky situations too, like what to order at a restaurant or, how to deal with cravings.
It's like having a nutrition coach in your corner.
I love that analogy because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. And I bet that kind of support is really helpful for people who are, managing diabetes.
It can be life-changing, honestly.
Oh, and they can monitor your progress too, right?
Yeah, make adjustments if needed and just keep you motivated.
Because let's be real, it's hard to stick with those healthy habits sometimes.
It is, but having that support system can make all the difference.
Okay, so I know some people might think well, I don't have diabetes, so I don't need this personalized advice.
But blood sugar, it's important for everyone, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
It affects our energy, our mood, how well we sleep. It's kind of like the foundation of a healthy lifestyle.
I think of it that way too. It's foundational. And a registered dietitian can help you, fine-tune things, even if you don't have any specific concerns.
So it's like leveling up your health.
Exactly. It's about optimizing things, feeling your best.
Oh, I love that. And what I really like about this whole deep dive
What's that?
is that it's like encouraging people to be curious, to take charge of their own health journey.
Yes. I think that's so important because we have all this information available, but it's up to each person to figure out, how does this apply to me?
Exactly. And this deep dive is just like the starting point.
It's about giving people the knowledge and the motivation to, keep exploring.
And to find what works best for them. Speaking of exploring, I'm kind of curious how people are doing with that millet challenge we threw at them.
Ooh, me too.
We talked about how millet is often overlooked, but I think it has so much potential.
Oh, yeah. It's versatile, it's nutritious, it's a great swap for, rice.
And I've actually been experimenting with it all week, and I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed.
What have you made?
Well, this morning I made a breakfast porridge with millet and some berries and a sprinkle of nuts. It was delicious.
Oh, that sounds good.
I'll have to share the recipe with you. But yeah, I'm really liking it. And I'm curious to hear if any of our listeners have discovered their own millet masterpieces.
I love that. Millet masterpieces.
Yeah. So if you have, definitely share them with us on social media. We'd love to see what you're cooking up.
For sure. Okay, so we've talked about the power of food, the importance of personalized guidance, and even thrown in a little cooking challenge. But before we wrap up, I'm curious, what's the one key takeaway you hope people will remember from this deep dive?
Ooh, good question. Let me think. I think for me, it's the realization that we actually have a lot of control over our health.
That's powerful.
Starting with what we eat, It's about making those small changes.
Small but consistent, right?
Exactly. And not being afraid to reach out for help if we need it.
Yeah. Because knowledge is power, but it's the application that really makes the difference.
Love that. It's about taking action.
For sure. And remember, it's a journey, not a race. So, be patient with yourself.
Enjoy the process.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to leave it there for today. But before we go, we want to leave you with one final thought to ponder.
Ooh, I love these final thoughts. Lay it on me.
So we've been focusing on food and blood sugar, which is super important.
Absolutely foundational.
But there's another piece of the puzzle that I think is often overlooked, and that's sleep.
Sleep.
I know, right? And I think we'll save that deep dive for another episode.
I can't wait.
But in the meantime, maybe just take a minute to think about how your sleep habits might be affecting your blood sugar.
And your overall health in general.
Exactly. Because it's all connected.
It really is. Well, I'm excited to dive into that more next time.
Me too. But for now, we'll say goodbye. Until next week.
Welcome back to the show. We're wrapping things up with our blood sugar deep dive.
Yeah, it's been a good one. It has. We've talked about so much, how the food we eat really can impact our blood sugar.
It really can.
Remember that GI speedometer analogy?
Oh, that was a good one.
Right. And all those yummy snacks that are actually good for you?
Like dates with peanut butter and cinnamon?
That's my new favorite, for sure.
Mine too, probably. And of course, we can't forget about millet.
The underdog. I hope people gave that a try.
Me too. Curious what they thought. But before we officially wrap up, I wanted to touch on that idea you mentioned earlier about personalized nutrition advice.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
So important. It's easy to get lost in all the diet trends and fads.
Especially these days with all the information out there.
It can be overwhelming.
Right.
But what we've learned is that, true health, it comes from understanding your own body.
Right. What works for me might not work for you.
Exactly. And that's where working with a healthcare professional or a registered dietitian comes in.
They can help you figure it all out.
They're like the missing piece of the puzzle. They can connect the dots between those fascinating facts about food and your own personal health goals.
It's like having a personalized roadmap to better health.
I like that, a roadmap, because it is a journey.
And it reminds me of something else we talked about how knowledge is great, but
you have to actually apply it.
Exactly. It's one thing to know all about these amazing foods.
But if you don't actually eat them,
it doesn't do much good. Right.
So to our amazing listeners, I would say,
take what you've learned and put it into action.
Yes. Start experimenting. Swap out some of your usual grains from millet, maybe.
Try some new snacks. And if you're feeling stuck, or you just want that extra guidance,
reach out to a registered dietitian.
They can help you figure out what works best for you.
And remember, it's not about being perfect.
It's about making progress.
One step at a time.
Exactly. So to all our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning,
And keep making those healthy choices.
because you deserve to feel your best.
And remember, the journey to a healthier you, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Enjoy the ride.
Exactly. Well, that's about it for this deep dive. We'll be back next week with a brand new topic.
Can't wait. Until then, keep those minds curious.
And those bodies nourished.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.